Hi, I'm Lauren Chatham. I'm founder and teacher of Intentional Acting, and this is your Between the Scenes acting tip. I've started going through the 9 questions of intentional acting, and today we're working on question number 1. What is the scene about? Now there's 4 parts to question number 1, and in the last video we covered the first part, which is what is the relationship. Today we're going to talk about where does the scene take place. Now if you haven't downloaded the 9 questions yet, you can click on the link below, the9questions.com, and get a free download of the 9 questions. It'll be a lot easier for you to follow along. Okay, so where does the scene take place? A lot of actors just blow right by that. I'll say, so where does the scene take place? And they'll say, inside a restaurant. Next, on to the next thing. I'm like, whoa, slow down. Let's talk about this. So where does it take place? What kind of restaurant is it? Is it a fancy restaurant? Is it In-N-Out Burger? Are you inside the restaurant? Are you outside the restaurant? Is it a busy restaurant? Is it a quiet restaurant? Is it nighttime? Is it daytime? What does it look like? And you get the details, and that's what you want to do. You really want to think about, where am I? Where does this take place? What do I see? Get the details in your head, because when it's clear to you and you see it, the audience is going to see it too. Okay? And that's going to translate through the camera. And even when you're on set, you've got all those details. In an audition, you don't. You need to create that, and that will dictate the scene. Because it also dictates how you behave in the scene. If I'm in a fancy restaurant, I behave a whole lot differently than I do in a sports bar, and a whole lot differently than I do at home. And so when I'm clear about where I am, it'll make it easier for me just to behave in that scene. So for example, we had a scene in class where a guy had to break up with a girl, and it was taking place. I said, where does it take place? And it took place in a fancy restaurant. And so I said to the actress, I said, I think he absolutely chose, and very specifically, to break up with her in a fancy restaurant. And so, because how we behave in that fancy restaurant, how she's going to behave, how he's going to behave, why would he specifically choose that? There's so much story in there. There's so much detail. And that gives you and the scene so much more life. And when you have that story as an actor and you can live in that story, it all so much, there's just such a richness that'll come across in the scene, in your acting, when you're looking for variety and levels. So think about it. When you go back to your script next time, think about, where does this take place? Get into the detail, get specific, create it in your mind. And then when you're in your audition, you can create it in your mind too. You can do it quickly. In but a moment, you can really think about, I'm in a fancy restaurant. What does that mean? And picture that. And then cast the room and everything around you in that, and it will change your audition. Let me know. Put a comment below and tell me what happened for you when you got clear about where your scene takes place.